point in the life of a bald eagle is if it's ever going to be bald. That's the domain, really, of vultures. And vultures have bald heads and necks so they can put their head inside a dead animal and not get all the feathers stuck and matted together. So one of the questions that I get asked every single day is why on earth is he called a bald eagle? Well, it is a bit of a weird one, but bald is an Old English word which means white patch. So quite literally, skewbald and piebald horses have white patches on them. And when we swam across the ocean, discovered America, we saw an eagle with a white head and just went, that's a bald eagle. And that's how he got his name. So most people do know the bald eagle because he is America's national bird. Have we got any Americans in here today? Well, that was a bit of a damp spread for Americans. They normally make a lot more noise than that, it has to be said. Now, just to be fair to everybody, the bald eagle also occurs in Canada. This is your chance to shine if you're from Canada. You are amazing! Alaska? Nobody ever gets out from Alaska. But wait for it, Archie is actually a British bald eagle. That's how you do it. Okay. So, I know that when Archie flew down that river road a couple of minutes ago and disappeared round the back of the castle, I'm sure most of you were thinking to yourself, clever so-and-so, he's never going to see that eagle again. But Archie is a very, very experienced bird. He's been working here at the castle for some 15 years, and today we've got the wind actually blowing down the hill. So normally we have the exact opposite wind, which is a prevailing wind which blows up in this direction. Archie takes himself down the river road most days, takes a left-hand turn. So as he goes round the back of the castle, he takes a left-hand turn, and the backside of the castle is almost like a cliff face. The wind hits the back of the castle, lifts him up into the air, and normally Archie spends most of his show flying around the castle ramparts and towers, and that's what he gets paid to do, and it's in his contract of employment. And well, the young Archie here is actually working very hard today. He's having to power these enormous wings, and it really is very, very difficult for Archie to get about. But he is super fit, and he also knows how to fly. So although we work here every day from February half term through to November, all of the eagles, well, they get to play tig with each other on the side of a mountain, and that's where all of our baby eagles learn to fly. Up in North Yorkshire, on the side of a mountain called Pennygent, that's where I live, and Archie already understands how to fly. And it's only when you can fly really, really well that you can then bring them into an environment like this. So Archie is working hard at the moment. He's going down there, he's looking for some fresh air to get him up and help him around, but he's obviously having to go on manual. And it's a bit like me and you swimming up a river the wrong way. It really is very taxing on him, and I know that time when he went down there, he's dropped down a little lower than he should have done, and when he comes back he'll be absolutely cream crackered. He really will be exhausted. But my job here at the castle is to work Archie, keep him fit, and of course be nice to him. And I love Archie to bits, and Archie doesn't really like me. I'm like a work colleague rather than a work friend. He sort of likes me because I've got a bag full of rabbits and chickens and squirrels, and he is working, and he's working for that pay. So he's not going to get dollar bills or pound notes. It's meat that Archie loves. And if I was to have a heart attack and die now, Archie wouldn't say, oh, what a great guy Chris was. He'd just eat me, and that would be recycling. And Archie is very happy to eat anything at all. We very often recycle small children left over at the end of the day. There's always one or two knocking about. But if he was in the wild, he'd be a fisherman. So he'd actually be down on the river there, on a broken limb of a tree, overlooking the water, and he's waiting for a special set of circumstances to arrive, and that is a fish on the surface of the water. Then he flies straight towards it, drops these enormous big yellow feet into the water. He's got almost like Velcro on the soles of his feet to grab hold of slippery fish and pull them off the surface of the water, and that would be job done for the day. So he might only be active for about 10 minutes of any one day. But to hold on to an area, and this essentially is Archie's territory, this is his home, that's what it means, children, it's his home range. He has to have a bit of backup because other bald eagles are going to come and steal his food source. So in the wild, eagles mate for life, and Archie's no different. He has got a girlfriend. Yeah, it was a bit of a scandal when they first got together because she's 15 years his senior, but we're all cool with it now. And every year, Archie builds an enormous nest, about 8 feet across, a couple of feet deep, and he lines the nest cup with sheep wool and feathers, and they lay 2 eggs every year, and usually bring up at least 1 youngster every year. So I'm just going to make Archie go around one more time, and he really is going to not like me after this one, but I'm just going to make him work right until he's about to have a heart attack and die every day, and that of course keeps him fit and happy and healthy. Anyway, let's give Archie a big round of applause. He's done very, very well for us. That clapping noise does actually mean something to Archie. Essentially that means that we no longer require his services, and he's now heading back down to where we keep the birds. And if you haven't discovered the birds here at Warwick Castle, if you follow that eagle down the river road, the next time you see Archie, he'll be having a bath. And he has a bath every day to wash the blood off his feet and off his beak. Then he'll hang the washing out, and that wasn't a random person down there, by the way. That was David, and he has got fantastic eyesight as Archie. He was able to see that David was holding the rest of his lunch, which I think today is half of a grey squirrel, so he's going to be really very happy. So, now that he's gone, we can move on to the next bird, and the next bird is Bruce, everybody. And Bruce is actually a Chilean eagle. Now, he is slightly smaller than the American bird. That's not a reflection on nation sizes or anything like that. It's actually just down to design. So birds of prey are actually different sizes for different jobs, different habitats, different food sources, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why we actually have birds here at the castle. Well, we actually have birds here at the castle for all of its existence. So every single moment of the day, there's always been hawks and falcons in attendance here at the castle. And in yesteryear, it wasn't about education or conservation, it was all about hunting and trying to catch yourself some food. Now, whether you like hunting or not, most people in yesteryear were living on a diet of root vegetables, maybe a bit of mutton thrown in as protein. So if you actually had a bird of prey that could catch you your lunch, you really were an incredibly lucky person. So this is a bird that is actually a bit more useful than that bald eagle. First of all, I can carry him around on my arm. He weighs just 3 or 4 pounds, and I can comfortably carry that around all day. If a rabbit was to get up nearby, he can dash off at high speed. Doesn't look like he's flying very fast at the moment, but if a rabbit gets up in front of him, there's a turbocharged unit, and he can flap those wings like crazy, and he can outmaneuver it, and that's the skill and the reason why he's slightly smaller, and of course he can do all of those twists and turns. But interestingly, he has to be taught how to hunt. So if he was a wild bird, his mum and dad would bring him up in a nest, they would learn to fly, they'd follow the mums and dads around, and the mum and dad would be killing prey, and the youngsters would learn very, very quickly. Here at the castle, we quite like the ducks and the peacocks that we've got here at the castle, so we haven't actually taught our birds to hunt. And that is fine for us, they don't miss it, it's not something they take pleasure in, but the reality is that I want him to do something a bit more exciting. So I've actually trained this bird on a rising curtiver to fly around, and that's what he's trying to do, but of course he's in a downdraft, and he will soar up into the heavens, and we very often get these amazing dives. So birds of prey have got absolutely amazing eyesight, it's about 8 to 10 times better than mine and yours, and from 1,000 feet up in the sky, he can shut his wings and like a feathered bullet fall towards the earth at 150 miles an hour, which you might think is, well, as fast as it gets, but there are other birds that we fly called falcons, and the peregrine falcon has been reliably clocked at 232 miles an hour towards the floor. And that of course means that anything that's underneath him, well, he's got a chance of trying to catch it. So Bruce normally will soar and fly around in the sky, and he gets higher and higher and higher, and I walk out to any of the posts and drop a bit of food on there, and he will fall out of the sky at incredible high speeds. Now today, of course, we've got that downdraft, and the key thing about falconry is that you have to keep training the bird, you've got to keep him fit, he has to understand how to fly, and this is the very tying bit about it. And falconry was really, really popular. I mean, it was a bit like the football of its day. Everybody was involved in hunting and trying to catch their prey. And little Brucey here was a bird that I'm sure would have been used. The Chilean eagle isn't the best eagle in the world, but it's about the right kind of size. And in this country, they would have flown goshawks and falcons. But little Bruce here fits the bill for us, and he is a fantastic flying bird in the right kind of conditions. What I'm doing at the moment is making him work. When he flew up onto the top of the mound there, well, just that little bit of grass there, you might have noticed that there was a jackdaw stood behind him. And often, because I talk about hunting, people are a bit disappointed when our birds don't actually chase after things. But as I say, it's not compulsive viewing for everybody, but occasionally here at the castle, it does all go horribly wrong. And in fact, his father has the title for the only bird of prey in 1100 and plus years of history here at the castle that has ever been sacked from Warwick Castle. Now, his dad broke all the rules of doing a demonstration. So he was about 1,000 feet up in the sky. I walked out to the log, showed him a piece of food, and he really did sort of just come vertically down out of the sky. And when you see it, the audience, they just gasp for breath because it is so exciting. And as he's hurtling towards the earth at 150 miles an hour, about 300 feet from ground level, he started to divert and head down the river road here. And I had no idea because of watching his father falling out of the sky and enjoying it. But at that very moment that there's an eagle hurtling towards the earth at 150 miles an hour, 2 ducks flew straight across the arena. And somewhere inside his father, even though he'd been doing the same job for 10 years, something clicked and he went on to intercept. And I knew exactly what was going to happen at that point. There was about 2,500 people here, and I'm thinking to myself, ooh, they're not going to like this bit now. But when he hit the back of the duck about 80 feet up in the sky, the crowd went wild. They loved it, they did. There wasn't a person that didn't come up to me and say that was amazing, but there was about 500 children here that were emotionally scarred. And he carried on flying with the duck into the tree behind the archery section there. And as far as his dad was concerned, that was the end of the show. He's got a duck in the top of the tree, the wind's blowing up the hill, he's pulling feathers off everywhere. It was like it was snowing here at Warwick Castle. And crucially, he fell out of the tree and we were able to recover him before he'd had a meal on that duck. And we were thinking to ourselves, he's a professional, he'll be back to work tomorrow, he'll have forgotten all about that duck. But how wrong were we? Over the next 10 days, his dad caught 5 more ducks, 2 jackdaws, and a magpie and a grass snake on the mound there. It's a very small one, but he gobbled that down in one go. So on the 11th day, he hit a duck up the backside in the courtyard right next to my entertainment manager, and he's like, he's got to go. So it did turn into a positive thing in the end, that we actually ended up with a female. And that's look, see the difference now? The wind is actually just changing and swinging around. And so Bruce is immediately feeling that and starting to understand, well, we might be back on and we're actually going to have a bit of fun now. So the idea is that he does his job according to the plan, and that wind is just gently moving around, so we might have a bit of an updraft, but I don't think we've got a lot to work with here. And Bruce is more or less cream crackered anyway, but let's give him a big round of applause. He's done very, very well for us. Okay, to switch him off, I'm just going to pop a little bit of food in that box. I don't want you to worry about him in there. It is very hot, but he has got air conditioning and a little PlayStation and a drinks cabinet. He'll be very happy for the next 5 minutes or so whilst we move on to the next bird. And this really is a huge bird. So this is actually a lammergeier, and most people have never even heard of a lammergeier. It's an amazing, truly unique bird of prey. It is massive. It has a 9-foot wingspan. And this is a bird that lives on the tops of mountains, and I'm afraid to say that the lammergeier's name did him absolutely no favours at all, because lammergeier roughly translates to lamb vulture. That sort of means he's a vulture, but it also sort of means that maybe he eats lambs. Well, eagles do kill livestock, and that's the reality. They've been doing it for thousands of years. They don't want to have a fight with a sheep or a goat, but if they're on the top of a mountain and they drive at a sheep or a goat, knock it off, then of course they can consume its body. And that's what eagles have been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. And sad to say, for this bird, because he looks like an eagle and not like a normal vulture. Normal vultures have like big necks and heads like my arm, and they put the heads inside and eat the soft flesh. But because this bird looks like an eagle, he was pretty much eradicated throughout the mountain regions of Europe. They go all the way across to the far side of Russia, they go down the spine of Asia, and they live again in Africa at high altitude. But what is really cool about these birds is how they break the big bones, like hips, and throw them down time and time again until they break into pieces they can swallow. And if you've had a marrowbone, a dog owner, you'll know that the knuckle end of a marrowbone is about the size of my fist, and he can swallow a bone of that kind of size. He's got a massive big mouth. And we used to think that breaking bones would be a bit like the hawk or the falcon, having to be taught how to do it. But interestingly, when we were at home, my house is the last house going up Penningen to the Yorkshire Dales National Park, and that's where all the eagles come and go. They come and go at my house most of the time, scaring the walkers going up and down the mountain. I'd love to be able to bring that lammergeier down onto ground level for you to have a look at, but he's so big that he can't get off the ground again. And so I'm going to finish the show with 2 of the largest eagles in the world. So there are many contenders for the largest eagle in the world if it's about wing length. So a lot of eagles have an 8-foot wingspan, but the actual contenders for the largest eagle are body weight. So it's actually about how heavy you are. So the 3 eagles that are the largest in the world is a harpy eagle from South America. Then you've got something called a Philippine monkey-eating eagle. And then you have this very, very beautiful bird, which is a Steller's sea eagle. Now, almost Marvin, and I'm going to bring in Nikita for you to have a look at. And this really is a huge thing indeed. So this currently weighs 17.5 pounds. That's about 8.5 kilos. And it's truly huge. When it's fat in wintertime, it might go up to 25 or maybe even 30 pounds. It really is a seriously big, heavy bird. And that shows just how difficult it is to get off the ground. Now Marvin and Nikita are another pair of our bonded birds. They love each other, they fly together every day. Last year they did build an enormous nest. Marvin is just a little bit too young to breed. He's more or less there in his adult plumage, but I'm pretty sure that we'll breed Steller sea eagles this next winter, and that's the time when they actually breed, coincidentally, when we're not working here at the castle. So they go in the large area, they already know how to fly, and they get on like a house on fire, so we're expecting big things. But I'm sure that most of you have just looked at the bird and thought, wow, that is amazing. Look at the tin opener on the front of its face. What's all that about? Well, it's got a massive beak, and that massive beak is designed for eating frozen meals. So this isn't the sea eagle that we have up in Scotland. That's a white-tailed sea eagle. These are from eastern Russia, Japan and Korea. There's a peninsula called Kamchatka, the Sea of Hokkaido. That's where you would expect to find the Steller sea eagle at home. And it's a brutal place in winter time. It's down to 20, 30, maybe even 40 degrees below freezing. And so, but we're going to fly both of the birds all the way to the top of the castle. Using a small arm of a child, I think it was a 5-year-old from yesterday. So both of the birds are trying to find an easy way up there. So Nikita has gone off onto the back wall of the castle to try and see if there's enough fresh air to get up. As soon as they think that they've got enough height, then they will head over to the top of the castle, and then, ooh, that was very close for Nikita. He missed it, so she's going to have to go around again. It's a bit like the child that has no idea how the brakes work on his bike. When he comes downhill, he'll often come in at high speed and rattle and roll from one side to another, and that's because he's trying to land nice and gentle, rather than actually come in and smash into a fish. So if you're a fish on the surface of the water, then they use that momentum to actually pull the fish off the surface of the water. And I know what you're thinking, he's put all that food there and the birds are not on their way down. And that's because they know about favourite conditions. So as soon as they bring out the next piece, then you can see that we've got one on his way in. And they know they do have to land coming into the wind. And when they land on our arms, incidentally, they also land really, really gently. But if they need that momentum to pull that fish off the surface of the water, then they really do slam in at high speed.
I'm just waiting for the color. Abadi muruko. Kami abadi jaga. First time it's around this. Ayo. Come on, darling. Face this way. Oh, look, listen to me. Rajesh, look at me. Rajesh. Beautiful. Beautiful. Can you take me in quickly?
Yeah, look.
It's 20 minutes.
I don't really want to swap mum.
It's a fish eagle. It's an American. His wingspan is 2.4.
take a picture of the owl as well then. Done.
No, you don't.
So known as the milky owl. Lives in parts of Central and Southern Africa.
Daddy. Oh, Henry.
Okay.
Seven more birds.